Hello, this is David Stringer. I'm the publisher of Prescott eNews, and we're here today with another installment of Prescott Talks. Today we're going to talk about an issue that has sort of captured the attention of the local community. We have an election coming up in another month or so, and Prop 484 has gotten a lot of attention, both on the pro and the no side. Today we have in the studio two of the people that were very instrumental in getting Prop 484 on the ballot. And I'm going to introduce first Ralph Hess. Many of you may know Ralph Hess. Has been in our community many years. He was formerly on the Superior Court bench. He's retired now and has been just a community activist. We also have Bonnie McMinn. I hope I'm pronouncing that one right, Bonnie.
Perfect.
And Bonnie has been in Prescott now for the last few years, and she has also involved herself in community issues. Both of these individuals have been particularly involved in issues involving open space. I think you were maybe both involved in the Save the Dells initiative or proposal. And I'm going to let you tell the folks what you've been doing and how you got the proposition on the ballot and what it's all about. So let's start, Ralph, with you. Why is Prop 484 on the ballot? And why is it so important for the community right now? Why is it so important for the residents of Prescott to know about Prop 484 and to support it, in your view?
Well, first of all, David, thanks for having us. I appreciate the fact that you brought us in to discuss this.
It's our pleasure to have you.
Prop 484 is on the ballot because 25 years ago, the citizens of Prescott voted on a proposition that was presented to them by the city council to use sales tax monies to buy open space. And shortly after that...
That was the penny tax?
Yes. And it was split between roads and open space. And shortly after that, the 2003 general plan included a strategy that said specifically to initiate a charter amendment immediately following the ratification of that 2003 general plan. Well, here we are more than 20 years later, and it still had not been done by the 10 councils that followed that 2003 general plan. And so it's important to be on the charter because anytime a charter amendment is adopted, it has to be adopted by the voters. City council cannot pass a charter amendment. Charter amendment has to be passed by the voters, so it has to go on the ballot. And that's why 484 is on the ballot, in order to make that charter amendment effective.
All right. Well, Bonnie, can you tell us sort of what is the genesis of the ballot initiative, how you were able to approach council and actually get it approved and on the ballot?
Absolutely. Thank you, David, for having us in. This is a very important issue, of course. The assumption for the public is that our open space was permanently protected. The reality is only 3 properties are listed in the charter today, and that is Watson Lake, Willow Lake, and Acker Park. And Acker Park was a fight. It was a dogfight till the end to get that in the charter, but that happened. So the precedent had been set for us to have the charter amendment protection. But if you were to walk down the street and talk to people and ask, is our open space permanently protected? The answer would be, of course it is. And their answer would be, of course it is. But the reality is it's not. So what has occurred over the last 2.5, 3 years, both Ralph and I were appointed to the mayoral ad hoc charter committee.
And you were appointed by the mayor?
By the mayor, yes. And so we were appointed, and we worked through a number of charter amendments. As Ralph has indicated, charter amendments are approved by the voters. So in 2023, we passed a number of those amendments. The open space was a little bit more lengthy in terms of us tackling it. So it got put on the back burner. And life happens, and we march forward, and we felt that this was just the perfect time for us to approach council and actually work with council to have this amendment get put together properly. And I want to thank the city council, I especially want to thank Joe Young, because Ralph and I, there were 4 public hearings since January. Council said we want to come back. Of course, a good collaboration is through compromise.
You say it was now is an important time to do this. Was there some particular proposal, some particular concern that there might be an encroachment on our open space? What kind of made it now is the right time, or now is the time that it needs to get done?
Well, I think what made it is the climate of this council, the collaborative nature of the council that Ralph and I both experienced. And just that timing was the way to go, because otherwise we would have to go out and collect signatures.
And the other thing is, we were in the process with the Charter Review Committee to be looking at changes to the charter. And so the timing was such that we were already going before the voters and presenting charter amendments. And this was an important one that had been, 20 years in the making.
Right.
And so now was the time to do it.
So, and you make a point here now, this was a referral by the city council. This was not a situation where you had to go out into the community and get signatures.
Correct.
This is something that you were able to approach council members, convince enough council members that it was the appropriate thing to do, and to actually get approved ballot language
Yes.
And Joe
into the
Young,
initiative.
right, and Joe Young actually went to the various.
Who's Joe Young? Just
Joe Young is a city attorney.
City attorney.
He's our city attorney. And Joe Young, of course, was working with us, but he was also going to the different department heads so as to make sure that all of the city departments that would be impacted by this charter amendment would have input as to what the actual language would be.
Right, the stakeholders, yes.
Okay, so probably the most important thing that this ballot initiative does is that it prevents the city council from selling or leasing open space, our current open space. We can't prevents the council from approving any use of that for development, building houses or apartment buildings or anything of that sort. Is there a real risk that that could happen? How real is the danger or the risk that our open space could be compromised or encroached upon?
That is a risk. I mean, because...
And why? Why is that?
Well, the risk is because in the event that 4 council members, which is a majority of council has 7 members. So 4 council members could be convinced to go ahead and sell off open space property. And this charter amendment is not going to prevent the sale or any other expanded uses of the open space property.
Anything like that, right.
So all it does is require council to convince the voters of the need to either expand those uses or to sell the property.
Yeah. So, Ralph, without getting too deep in the weeds, you could give us sort of a general overview. What does Proposition 484 do? What are the key provisions, and how does it sort of, I'll say lock up, that's maybe not a term you want me to use, but how does that prevent development, a 4-member majority, a temporary majority on a particular city council from encroaching on open space?
Well, it's basically because anytime the city council, if this passes, city council, in order to sell any city-owned open space, this just addresses city-owned open space, in order to sell it, they would have to convince a majority of the Prescott voters that that's what needs to be done, and the voters would have to approve it. And if otherwise, as I said earlier, 4 council members and some future council, if they want to sell some property, they could do it. And it could be against the wishes of the voters who have actually paid for a lot of this open space with the sales tax.
So the open space that we currently have, correct me if I'm wrong, the open space that we currently have was either given to the city or the city bought it with tax dollars
Correct.
from the taxpayers.
Correct. Yes.
Bonnie, could you tell us about how much open space do we have? How much space is covered by Prop 484?
44. So that was one of the interesting things, because the original language that we put together was open-ended in terms of any city-owned open space. And of course, the council members had concerns about that. So we honed this down with the help of Joe Young and staff to bring it's about 26 parcels, about 2,750 acres of city-owned open space. The majority of that open space is within the city limits, but we do have properties like Goldwater Lake that are outside the city limits, but protected if this passes.
What about future acquisitions? We have 2,700 acres roughly now. If people donate property, set up trusts and things like that and give property to the city, but it's to be maintained as a park or what have you, will that open space also be protected?
No.
It's only the current.
It's only currently city-owned open space. In the event that occurred, that situation you just described, that would require another charter amendment
initiative
to include those properties.
Well, and it would be, at that point, it would be very easy because we've got the framework. So the framework started with the 3 properties, Watson, Willow, and Acker Park. We add these properties into that charter amendment. And then if new properties are acquired, the city council can simply put that ballot initiative on themselves.
Understand.
Which makes it really easy.
But I'm glad you asked that question, because I think that is a concern of some of the opponents, is that what about open space that the city acquires after this amendment is adopted, if it's adopted?
Because when something becomes open space, if it's not currently open space, any future open space is going to be owned by the city and is going to be off the tax rolls. And I think that's maybe one of the concerns people might have. It's a theoretical risk, but there is a possibility of that. But that could be addressed at a later date.
Right.
Absolutely. And at least 2/3, well, at least 1/3 of our open space is outside the city limits at this point. It's not annexed in. So Goldwater Lake is outside the city, but it is city-owned open space. So
And just for the record, who owns Goldwater Lake?
the city of Prescott.
Okay.
Yes, the city of Prescott.
But it's outside the city limits.
But it's outside
Got
the
it.
city limits.
Okay.
And our property taxes are very, very low. So the city property taxes.
Okay. Now, there is some opposition to this, and it's vocal, and it appears to be well-funded. We hear a lot of it on the electronic media, radio, and so on. Who are these people? Who would be opposed to something like this? And what do you think their agenda is? And why do they think this Prop 484 is a bad idea?
Well, we can speak to
And I realize you're not the most objective, but I'd like to hear your perspective. I think our audience would like to hear, how do you respond to the opponents?
Well, I would respond to the opponents pretty much the way I've been answering your questions. It's difficult to identify exactly who the opponents are, because you have PACs, or I'm sorry, political action committees, PACs, who are involved with at least the published opposition. And so we really don't, or I don't know, everyone who's involved with that political action committee. So I would, but
Is there just one? Are there several different voices or platforms that are urging an opposition or urging a no vote on this?
Well, my shortcoming is I'm not on any of the social media, so I'm not paying that much attention to it. And only thing I really get is what proponents of the amendment might send to me.
But we know that there's one new PAC in town that was formed this year to fund candidates and fund or oppose ballot initiatives or other issues. We know, I will speak from experience of the 4 public hearings, there was a developer who stood and spoke against.
And what was the thrust of his argument?
The thrust of his argument was tying the hands of future councils. And that is the concern, and that is really the concern in the ballot pamphlet. Is the 3 letters opposed to it is tying the hands of future councils. And the answer, of course, to that is our off-ramp, which was actually proposed during one of our charter committee review sessions by Kathy Rusing. And she said, well, the off-ramp could be taken to the voters.
So that leads me into my next question, which you've already partially answered. There is language in Prop 484. There is a mechanism for the voters to consider a sale or other disposition of our open space. And could you just, without going too deeply into the weeds, how exactly would that work? Either one of you, or both of you.
Okay. Well, one thing is, let's say one of these parcels that are listed on the proposed charter amendment to be protected. Let's say that some future council decides they want to sell it, or they want to put a fire department.
And right now that could happen.
Or a fire station.
Is that right? Right now that could happen.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right, not a fire department, a fire station. They put a fire station on it. And that's not possible under the wording of the charter amendment. But what they could do under the language of the charter amendment is go to the voters and say, just on this one parcel, we want to either sell it, or we want to put a fire station, or we want a police station. They could, with good, reasonable planning, they could get that on a city ballot and ask the voters to approve it and demonstrate to them the need to either sell that parcel or to put a fire station or a police station on it. And you've been here long enough to know that Prescott voters are reasonable voters. They're intelligent voters. They understand the arguments, and if you have a
very involved community.
Right.
And so, but what I'm hearing you saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this is not something the city council could do. This would have to go, because we're voting it in as part of the charter, that it would have to go to the voters. But the way that could happen, somebody who wanted to do that wouldn't necessarily have to go out and get signatures and so on like that. They could go to the council, and the council could refer it to the ballot, just like they've made this referral.
Exactly.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And the voters have been very dependable for the council. So the original sales tax in 2000 brought it to the ballot. The voters approved it. Prop 443 for the PSPRS in 2016, 2017, they brought it to the voters approved it. Proposition 478, which was just last fall to fund, police and fire, public safety, the voters approved it. So the voters are, to Ralph's point, very well educated, knowledgeable of what's going on within the city. And when the city is asking for things, it's reasonable, the voters will comply.
So just anecdotally, what kind of support are you getting from the community on this? I talk to a lot of people here at eNews. We hear from a lot of people. And sort of anecdotally, I would say there's pretty good support in the community for a yes vote on this proposition. Is that what you're hearing?
That's my experience. I've been at the farmers market on Saturday. Everyone that as a matter of fact, I don't recall having heard any negative responses from anyone at the farmers market. And when I'm just around town, I'm always hearing positive support for this proposition. Everybody with whom I've spoken have said, yes, why isn't this open space protected?
So, Bonnie, you shared an anecdote with me before the show began about an invitation you recently had from an unexpected source.
It's so exciting to me because this is a community issue, and it has transcended the Democrat politics or the independent politics or the Republican politics. I got a phone call last Friday from the Yavapai GOP headquarters here in town, asking for as many yard signs as I could spare to be brought into the office. And they were excited. I delivered over a dozen yard signs, and they were thrilled for that. And I've also delivered yard signs to the Democratic headquarters. And I've also worked with some of the Indivisible, the group there as well. And churches everyone is supportive. I've presented to the synagogue. It's been an overwhelming support.
So Bonnie, you know that these signs are not free. You've learned that.
Well, yes.
Campaign materials do cost money. If
Yes.
someone wanted to support your efforts, first off, if somebody wanted a yard sign, how could they get one? And secondly, if someone understood the importance of the financial support for these kinds of activities, how do they support you? How do they get you a few bucks?
Well, we can start with my phone number. So if they are interested in speaking with me, I can certainly do that. And that number is 928-778-2443. And if they would like to do that support in another way via check, the address would be the P.O. Box 4166, Prescott 86302. And that check would be made out to me. So Bonnie McMinn, one of the things that I learned quickly is I had to become a PAC.
All right. The Bonnie McMinn PAC?
I never dreamed it. So my PAC is Bonnie McMinn Petitioner PAC. So I had to file with the city, and I did that on June 5th. So this campaign has happened very, very quickly.
Okay. I want to thank both of you guys for coming in today. This is a really hot topic in Prescott. The ballots are going to be going out next week and a half, 2 weeks. Yep. As we finish up here today, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you hoped I would ask you? Is there any point that you wanted to make that you haven't had an opportunity to make? Just go ahead and kind of look into the camera and make your closing pitch.
Well, the one thing I want to assure the public and your audience is that there are a number of uses that this open space property can be used for that are included in the charter amendment. It's such things as utilities, visitor centers, bathroom facilities, trailheads, related road purposes, safety access, and emergency ingress and egress for the adjacent public development. So this charter amendment is designed to not only protect open space, but also provide uses that might be needed by the community. And keep in mind, whenever any additional uses or any necessity to sell the property, all the council has to do is go to the public and ask the voters.
Ralph, thanks very much. Bonnie, anything you wanted to say?
Well, he covered it all, and those were things that we did in detail, of course, with the city attorney over approximately 10 meetings over a number of months to get the right language, to get the right detail that council felt comfortable with. So that's very, very important. And my point is, it's now or never, and let the voters decide.
Okay, great. Well, Ralph Hess and Bonnie McMinn, thank you so much for coming in today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. And my name is David Stringer. I'm the publisher of Prescott eNews. Thanks for watching.